Welcome to Doors to Hope and Healing, an inside look at foster care and adoption needs in Connecticut. My name is Jacqueline Ford. I have had the honor of working for the department for close to 30 years, and although I may be familiar with many of the topics I bring to you, I have invited experts in those fields to help dispel the myths and misconceptions that often act as barriers. Join us as we open our doors to an inside look at the Department of Children and Families.
Hello, thank you both so much for being on the set of Doors to Hope and Healing. It's a pleasure to have you both here. So as you both know, this month we're celebrating Foster Care Awareness Month, which is not only an opportunity to celebrate both of you for your years of fostering, but it's also to call awareness to foster care so that our viewers can get an understanding of what our needs are and what it means to be a foster parent. Our statistics with the department, having been there for as long, it's wonderful to be able to say that we have 3,400 kids in foster care, which is a drastic difference from just a few years ago under Commissioner Durantis's leadership. And 44% of those kids are in kinship care. So it's definitely showing, a movement, a direction that the department has taken to keep children in the care of somebody that they're familiar with. So our show today is going to be talking about foster care and your experiences with foster care, and also, Marian, your experience working for the department in a capacity as a liaison for CAFAF. So let's begin with you. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, about your foster care, your family, and your work.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. My husband and I have 3 children. We have a biological son who is 24 years old. We have a son who came to us through foster care when he was 14, and he's now 22 years old. And then we have our 9-year-old biological son as well. So we have a nice mix in there.
And how many years ago did you begin the foster care journey?
I believe we began our journey right around 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. Is when we made that phone call.
To the Kid Hero line?
Yes, to the Kid Hero line.
And what made you do that?
So foster care has always been in my heart. Mm-hmm. It's always something that I wanted to do. And I thought that it was a good time to get that started. We had 2 children in the home already, so we were already parenting. I was hoping to do, my initial thought was respite care. That's not what God's plan was. That's not what ended up happening. But it's just been an amazing, incredible journey since
stepping forward.
Yeah.
So for our viewers who are watching now, so respite is a period of rest and relief for a foster family, right? So our foster families can people can either decide to become licensed to foster or to foster and be available to adopt if that child should ever need an adoptive home, or to provide that respite, which is a very short-term relationship with a child. So, if one of our viewers are watching this segment and they are interested in helping and can't open their home to a child on an ongoing basis, but can do respite, we need you as well.
Absolutely, and some of our respite caregivers, they will build relationships with the foster parents, so that if the child needs respite, they can go to the same respite caregiver, and that's really important for our children to have relationships that are consistent.
Sure, and building that relationship so that anytime the foster family needs to go away or do something that they can't take the child with them to have that familiarity with another family is wonderful. And I think you also build that through support groups when you have a relationship with other families through support group. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work. I know that you basically lived and breathed this foster care world because, like you said, your heart called you to do that. But I know that your professional life life is also embedded in this work. Can you talk about
Yes.
what your title and your roles are with that?
Yes. So, so from my personal life, with my teenager who was 14 at the time, there was so much advocacy that went into parenting him. There were lots of things that he needed, and I really thrived off of just helping this teenager get everything that he deserved and everything that he needed. And so when I saw CAFAF, Connecticut Alliance of Foster and Adoptive Families, had an opening for a liaison, I definitely jumped at the chance, because CAFAF is an amazing program that offers, so we work directly with DCF, and we offer support in every DCF office. But our support comes from the lens of a foster parent or somebody who has worked with the foster care agency world, as they call it, in the past. So I sit in the Milford office, Milford DCF office, and I build relationships with those workers. And then I build relationships with all the families that they support. And the purpose of that is to then offer that support to those families as needed, and to also offer the support to the DCF staff as well. However we can support families and workers, we are always so happy to do it at CAFAF. And then we also will offer trainings, make sure that everybody stays in the know, because the knowledge is always changing. And we do advocacy work at the state level as well. But it's incredible. It's wonderful support for our families. It's just an additional support for foster families, for kinship families, who didn't plan to be here, but they're here, and we want to help make it a successful process.
I've had the experience of working with liaisons over the years, and they have been wonderful, and they really do add a level of support that is different than what they even receive from our DCF staff, because like you said, your liaisons have foster care experience, whether they were foster parents or they were a child who was raised having foster children come in and out of their home. However it is that they took that journey through foster care, having someone who can support them like that is truly beneficial to DCF as well as that family. So thank you. So Trish, we haven't forgotten about you over there. So can you tell us about your journey through foster care?
We came into foster care because our eldest son was in preschool, and his best friend, who he considered his best friend, was in foster care, and they moved him. So it pulled at us and gave us a reason, and we thought about it, and we already had 3 children at home, and I worked, my husband worked, and it just seemed like we were supposed to do it. You know, like you said, God intervened when you were supposed to do it. We have done it for almost 18 years now. We have our family of 7 children. It is very rewarding. It is challenging. I'm not going to say to everybody that it's roses, but you get more than you give. And if you do it right, I'm not going to tell you your heart doesn't break, because if it doesn't break, you didn't do it right. But it's always what's best interest for the child and the family, and it's really, really important. We are a medically complex family, which we did not start out to be. We take care of levels, I don't think I've done a level 3, but I would say, and that's a need that we have ongoing, is for people to open your hearts up to this first of all, and then don't be afraid. Because like you said, there's so many trainings, there's so much support. We have excellent support worker, excellent social workers. We had, founded by Irene, whom I know you know, a Precious Hands support group for medically complex. So then we've become a family outside of the regular DCF family.
So take us back to, I think you said something important, and I definitely want you to share with our viewers more about medically complex, because it's an important role and not everyone can do it. And I'm so grateful for all of those families who do step up, and like Irene, who is a friend to the show, she's been on our show as well. But when your son experienced that best friend in kindergarten or in preschool that was a foster child, I think we take for granted what our own children go through when foster children come and leave our home. And we can, they're valuable lessons and we teach them, but I think that we need to call attention to our birth children who are experiencing that. And with your son, for him to have known that this child was a part of his life and then he was no longer. How did you work through that with him?
I think, I will also say, probably oversharing, he was nonverbal. So for him to have made that connection and have it broken was extremely hard.
Oh, sure.
Because it's the consistency. These children need consistency. Whether they're your birth children, your foster children, anybody, it's consistency. So I think you have to take that in consideration and keep the core family intact, and ask. I don't want to say ask permission, because obviously parents are in control, but you need to take their feelings into consideration and validate their feelings when these children leave, because you take it upon yourself, but some of these children, before the changes were made, have been in your home for over a year, and then you're going to take this child out of your home and the whole family experiences loss.
Sure.
And that's, I think, it really is more rewarding, but I feel that our older children, and even children that we were fortunate to adopt and we still foster, it makes them seem the world is a softer place. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do good. It doesn't have to be the best at this. You just have to make sure every child really feels loved and continue to bring that message. I mean, we're not a perfect household. I mean, we all make mistakes,
yes.
and that's what I'm saying. If you're thinking that you have to do this, no. You have to be human and care and get up every morning, even though you messed up the night before, and try again. But, I mean, we all do that with our own biological children to begin with, to show it's okay to make mistakes, and you get to try to learn and continue. That's where it counts, that you show up every day. Try.
So, and thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that, anybody who's watching who may be considering will think, I can't do that. I'm not a perfect parent, and, it sounds cliche, but there are no perfect parents. And, having that love and that stability in a home to take care of that child until their family can strengthen themselves to be able to have that child reunified is always our goal. So tell us a little bit about medical complex foster parenting. How does a child get considered to be a medically complex foster child?
There's many different levels now. In the olden days, people would say asthma, but unfortunately, many of the world now has asthma. It is a child who needs a lot of care, more care than a normal. It's like having the flu 24/7 is the best way. You keep going. You're always taught training, hospital training, child-specific training. I'm trying to give a good analogy. It's a child who has asthma, but you have to give them treatments every 2 hours. And then they do get healthy. That's where people don't understand. A lot of these children eventually, with the care that they need and the proper treatments, can live normal, active lives. It's a little bit different. G-tubes, which is where a child doesn't eat by mouth, but eats through intervention. You would never know some of these children. Like, you think of a medically complex child and think, oh, there's a child in a wheelchair. Forgive me, they're in a vegetative state. Absolutely not true. They are just as precocious, just as bold, and just as energetic, but in different ways. And it's rewarding for someone to say, this child will never walk properly, and this child will not eat. And you're like, oh, but you can't say that. And now they don't say that, because there's so many great therapies and treatments. And if you went into a room, albeit some of the children in obvious wheelchairs and such, you would never be able to pick them out. And you would never be able to label them that. They just need more care, medication, more doctor's appointments. I'm not going to be untruthful about that. There's a lot of medical appointments. But It's just a regular child. And the hope is when you have a medically complex child, you go with the birth parents. They come to the appointments. You're their backup. You're the one to tell them you can do it. I couldn't do it. If I learned to do it, you can learn to do it. You just have to have patience with them. I'm not saying, forgive me, that you don't ever get upset, because you do, but you have to have patience. And you have to remember the child is, say, the earth, and we are all the surrounding planets. We are not, it does not make us better, it does not make them worse, and vice versa. We all have to try to come together to do what's best as a team, everybody included, workers, support workers, everything. You all are a team, and that's what's important.
And it's a beautiful way to imagine it, the way you just explained it. And I think it's difficult to be a parent when you have a very stable and a very functional household, and you're not having these various stressors affecting you. So now, with our families who need our extra support and their child's medically complex, I think that they need that extra support, and to be a part of the medical visits and to see how you're learning, and you can learn along with them and teach them. And I think that's a great segue into talking about the QPI, the Quality Parenting Initiative. So, having been a part of the department for many years, years and years ago, we had foster families who looked to engage the birth families, and have a relationship with them. Sometimes it was done really trying. Sometimes it just happened, And I think that now I'm so excited about the QPI, Quality Parenting Initiative, because we are involving our birth families and our foster families and the department to work together as a team. And Trish, you mentioned the word team. We're all working together. So can you tell our viewers what the Quality Parenting, it's QPI, we use all these different terminologies, but the Quality Parenting Initiative is?
Sure. So Quality Parenting Initiative, or QPI, is a national organization that they believe that children who have lasting relationships and excellent parenting will thrive and grow. And so it's off of that theory that you see everything else come together in the way we interact with each other. So coming back to that, let's be a team, let's work together, let's engage each other early on, let's work with the birth families. QPI leadership and DCF leadership have come together and said, let's make this happen for Connecticut. Let's really help our families build a village around the children, a village that stays connected, that keeps those relationships in place, and let's do it from the start. I'm excited to be part of a training for foster parents, so nobody gets left wondering how to do it on their own. Again, we come back to that support and that training. We're there for you. We teach you how to engage, especially those first times are hard, but it's QPI theory or thinking that is really changing the landscape of, it's the expectation almost now. Now
it's a given.
Now it's an expectation, right? Where before it was hit or miss.
Right.
If somebody might do this work, now it's, hey, let's engage right from the start. Let's build families for these children. Let's birth family and foster family. You guys are going to connect, and you're going to become a new family.
Well, I think it breaks down barriers, and I think that for a child who understands what's happening, they don't have to feel guilty about having a connection to their foster family. Because, as we know, having all done this for so many years, our children, despite how horrific those issues may be in the home or whatever trauma they're facing, they love their family, they love their parents, and being removed temporarily is so difficult and painful for these kids. But of course our job is to keep them safe. So when you can have a foster family work together with a birth family, it's almost, a no-brainer, and right now it's more of a concept. It's a given. This is going to happen. So tell me, in the training to become a foster parent, is this QPI mindset being introduced in the training, the initial training?
From what I've seen of those trainings, I think it has. I think it's, from what I've seen, those trainers tend to speak to that QPI theory as is. So it's that expectation. So families that are graduating pretty much have that expectation that, okay, when I start my journey, I'm going to be introduced to a birth parent early on. And I'm going to have the support that I need from DCF support staff and from CAFAF support staff to help me with that if I have any questions. And I got to tell you, people, it can be a scary thought to have. I know personally I was a little scared when I first heard of it, and then when I started parenting, I was like, oh no. Bring him in. I want to work with his family. His family loves him. He has so much family too. And all I can say is it's not scary. As it turns out, it's not scary. It's so rewarding. I can't tell you how many families that I have seen really thrive off of building a relationship with the birth family, and that can include fathers, mothers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, godparents.
Well, you both are considered QPI champions, and that term of champion is because you believe in it. I think that, we're all going to come across DCF staff and foster families who've been pretty seasoned in this work to really need some help and extra support in understanding the benefits to it, which is ultimately for the child and making that child do better in that foster care setting and having those children become reunified maybe sooner. Trish, and I'd love to hear more from you of what you'd like to add, but can we say that every QPI situation for each case may look different?
Yes, but there are guidelines, and especially I would say in my experience in Waterbury and going to the question and answer period at the end of graduation, you are required and expected to work with the birth families. It's not like you said in the olden days where it would be gentle. It's also the break-in period, because if you do not stay adversarial and you can come at the common goal of the child and not feel threatened that I'm coming to keep your child and that we're all going to work together and you're going to have your support system as the biological family and as the resource family, we have our support system, we can come together and strengthen both sides to make the child whole. I'm not saying there's not going to be trauma. I'm not saying that families are perfect, but the goal is to get them to their core family as soon as possible. And if we all follow the QPI standards and we treat everyone with respect, then I think we can get that goal better. We are not adversarial. That's the one thing. We are all trying to make the system better. And I feel, it's come so far from when I started almost 2 decades ago. And you have to keep thinking, yes, we all know bureaucracy, that's never gonna change. But if you all go with the goal in mind that we're gonna change, then we can change the system. And I firmly believe that, because child center is really, it's the only thing that matters. And you don't have to be perfect. And I just wanna stress that again, because I don't consider myself a perfect parent, but you have to try to make your difference. And if you can only foster one child, then look at it that you saved that one child. You don't have to save a village. You have to save one child. That's all that matters. I really feel that,
Can either of you share a personal story? I know we have to, maintain the confidentiality of a case, but where you did engage with a birth family and you saw that it was successful. Marian, would you like to start?
Can I say from my personal experience?
Yes, your person as a foster parent.
Okay, so personally, I was able to. So we talked about kinship, and my son's aunt couldn't take care of him how DCF would have wanted her to. She just wasn't in the right space. So he did come to my home. However, they connected me to that aunt right away. And her and I, to this day, have a great relationship. She was such a blessing. She helped me understand his background, his history, the family's history, and then she helped connect me to his grandparents, his siblings, his father. She really was amazing in helping to keep his village intact. Had I not had that relationship with her, he would have lost out on his relationship with all these other family members. But it was because of extending that olive branch and taking the scary out of connecting with birth families. And for birth families, connecting with foster parents is also scary.
Sure it is. I can imagine that it would be. Yeah. But it's those birth families are the historians.
Yes.
Those aunts, those relatives, they're the ones that have the history, the rich family history.
Yes.
Before we end, and we're at the end, Trish, if you can just share with us a story of a quality parenting initiative.
I think basically, I have so many examples. If you need to treat the birth family with respect and give them grace that you were given, and that you don't realize at one time you were given the same grace, because we all set out to immediately say that there's something wrong. But a lot of these parents are parents of the system that have just come through the system. And I say that you can make the difference in one parent, they could break the cycle. And I feel, to me, that would be the success story. And to give these kids and the teens, like there's so many people who need teen homes. It's just, so that's what I would say. Be the choice to make a difference, to keep going, to give people the grace that you would like when you're at your lowest point for someone to give you. Because you don't know their story and they don't know yours, but you could make the child's story become the fairy tale. And
That's beautiful. So I think we've covered the fact that if any of our viewers are watching, they don't have to do this alone. You know, we have the CAFAF, organization that works very, very closely with DCF. We have the CAFAF liaisons who are providing that direct support. Then we have our DCF support staffs, our support workers and social workers, various trainings to help, to help you understand how to foster the relationships between everybody and be an integral part of our team. So I thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Happy Foster Care Awareness Month.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that you do professionally and personally for our kids. And I'm sure without a doubt you've inspired one of our viewers to make that call. And sometimes that's all we have to do is make the call and get the information. Thank you for watching today. If anyone watching is interested in being a foster or adoptive parent, you can call 1-888-KID-HERO, or you can visit CT Foster Adopt to learn more about our program. Thank you.
I didn't see in my mind that a child would be part of my daily routine. But I said, there's this little girl in Danbury,
Yes,
and if she ever crosses my path, I will help her. And that's Indigo.
she definitely changes the way you see yourself, the way you converse with other people, the way you even treat yourself.
I never really put being gay and being a parent together. A small part of who I am is that I'm a gay man, and it's okay with me, and I'm happy with that. It's who I am.
It's not all about me, but it's also bringing me out of a shell that I was keeping myself in.
What's really, really important is that you have two parents, and we both love you and care for you. She's given everything in my life purpose, because I'm not just living for me.
Welcome, I'm Nick Augustino. I'd like to welcome you to the Clam Box, where we do seafood our way. We got lobster roll, fried clams, fish and chip, fried shrimp, and our famous onion rings. We put a lot of precaution into the safety for you and your family. Not only do we use plexiglass at the cash register and sanitizer, we all wear gloves and we all keep a 6-foot distancing, and everybody must wear a mask. We carry all the options. We got DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and of course, we got curbside where we bring it right to your car. Online ordering is available at clamboxnewbritain.com or by calling us at 860-357-3118. The Clam Box, 586 West Main Street, New Britain.